Hello and welcome to the 10th episode of Studies in Shadow. My name is Jack Rogers and I am your host. And as always, I am joined by my wonderful-licious co-host Noah Bazoo.
Make those words up.
How you doing?
I am so good. So
Awesome.
good.
Guys, this is episode 10. Woo! We've come so far.
Double digits.
Website's still not up though. We just figured out what we needed to do to fix it. So that'll be up next week. I'm pretty pumped for that.
Putting pressure on me now.
Yeah. So, what did you think we would be at? Like, where do you think we would be at 10 weeks ago? Because we've been doing this for 10 weeks, literally, because it's our 10th episode. Mm-hmm. Did you think? What were your expectations?
I kind of like looking back at it. I was thinking about this the other day, actually. I was like, it doesn't feel like we've been doing this for that long. I feel like we're both so excited to do every episode, and we're both so eager to do it that it just flies by every time. Yeah. So you just even said it's the 10th episode. I totally didn't even realize it. I'm just like, wow. By 10 episodes, I kind of figured we'd be getting tired of it. Not in a mean way, but we both decided to do this. We were like, let's see what happens.
I think the only way I'd get tired of an episode is if I didn't like the topic.
I meant in terms of like getting tired of.
No, I know. Yeah, if I got tired of the show, I feel like it would just be of a single episode.
Yeah.
Because I always like talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
If there was a class on campus that taught stuff like this, I would be in that class every day.
Teaching it, honestly.
I would never. Yeah, I'd totally. What AT, assistant teach,
PT. Or TA?
TA, that's the one.
Teacher's assistant.
Teacher's assistant. I would TA that class.
Tutor or whatever.
And I would just have my encyclopedia of spirits and my
my other demonologist.
My demonologist
Necronomicon book. Just sitting there.
I don't have the Necronomicon
next to the Bible.
You saw me almost get the Necronomicon. Anyway, that's not what this episode's about. Maybe one day we'll do Lovecraft.
We will.
But I'm sure. But this episode is about voodoo. Hey Noah, you remind me of the man. What man? The man with the power.
What power?
The power of hoodoo.
Hoodoo.
You do.
Oh, what do I do?
The power. Remind me of the man. Never mind. I was thinking of Labyrinth. You remind me of the man. No, you remind me of the babe. You remind me of the babe. What babe? The babe with the power. What power? The power of voodoo. Hoodoo? You do. Do what? Remind me of the man or the babe. Because there's a baby in Labyrinth. I am so scatterbrained right now.
Dude.
There's no hope for me.
It's okay.
Anywho.
Voodoo, hoodoo.
You know what I want to call this episode? Who do voodoo? Like, who does voodoo, but who do voodoo?
No spaces in the letters?
No, look how I wrote it. Who, the word who, space, do, space, voodoo, question mark.
I don't think, I have to say, we said it out loud, but I mean, our audience can just look online.
So I had some pretty minor, not exposition, some minor... What is it when you are when you're exposed to something?
Exposure?
Exposure. Minor exposure to... I was like, exposition, that's not it. Exposure to voodoo, specifically Haitian voodoo and Haitian Creole stuff.
Ooh.
When I spent some time in southern Florida. So I learned a couple words in Haitian Creole, like passe un bon journée. It's like...
Bless you.
Have a good day, and then passe un bon nuit is have a good week.
And what language is that?
Haitian Creole.
Okay, so I know what
it's Haitian mixed with French.
Okay, so the Creole is the French addition to it.
Yes.
Okay, because I was very confused there.
And it's not even like a written language. Yeah. Everything's phonetically written, and so it looks weird on paper, but it's the actual like. Because it's a language.
I speak French, and so I was listening to you say that. I was like, either he's adding a French accent, or it's meant to be that way. But I mean, it sounds legit.
Yeah, no, that's how I was just taught to pronounce it. So
no, it sounds right. Yeah.
So in this episode, I'm going to be talking specifically about Haitian voodoo practices and beliefs and whatnot. And Noah's actually going to be talking about the New Orleans voodoo. I know nothing about New Orleans voodoo. We may reach like 2 minutes into this episode. Well, we're actually like, where are we at right now for time? We're
5 minutes.
5 minutes into the episode.
Bam.
And we don't even know like if they're similar or not. I don't know.
I got Louisiana voodoo, and my girl, the queen of voodoo in New Orleans,
who's
Marie Laveau.
Marie Laveau.
I think it's they say it Laveeau, Laveau. I mean,
dude, you speak French, man.
Yeah, I was about to say. I don't know if they just said it differently. I was like, Laveau is how I would say that, Marie Laveau. Anyway, that's my girl that we're talking about.
Nice.
She's kind of a savage.
I'm going to be talking about several people, just kind of little bits and pieces and stories.
Hey, no. It's all important, though.
So there's actually like National Geographic videos about this.
Wait, for real?
Yeah.
I didn't.
I'll talk about that later. Maybe we should talk about what voodoo is first.
Go.
So take away the New Orleans and Haiti stuff. Voodoo is a religion or belief or life system practice based in Africa, and it moved over to the continental United States and to the Haitian islands and whatnot. Or are there islands, or is it just one island? Haiti.
Yes.
Anyway, when they brought them over to Haiti and the
Slaves,
continental
you mean,
United,
right?
yes, slaves. The French brought slaves over, and so they had their voodoo, but the French were Protestants and Catholics, and they thought this was an abomination, and so they forced Catholicism and Protestantism, pretty much just Christianity, down their throats.
Yeah.
Forcing them to either hide their religion in the dark completely, like practice it in secret, or the ones who were a little bit more bold about it, they actually just veiled voodoo with Catholicism. So there's videos. One of the ones I saw was in Haiti. They're sitting in like a chapel, and they're all dressed really nice, but it's that blend between voodoo and Christianity. And so there's like Jesus and the cross in the back.
Yeah.
But
that really confused me in terms of like it's just like a mosh.
Okay, so here's the thing that I can compare it to. So they believe in a grand creator, and his name is actually, so I wrote it down, Bondi, Bondye.
Bondi,
whatever. It's actually French for good God.
Good God, yeah.
Actually, no, bon Dieu is where Bondi comes from, and that means good God in French, bon Dieu. But they don't actually worship him because they don't believe that he has any effect in their lives. So what they actually do is they worship the spirits who are associated with him. And what that looks like essentially is the people who believe in God but also worship saints.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So it's like people who would like be like, oh, like Saint Peter and stuff like that, and they like
Yeah,
worship
yeah,
Saint
yeah,
Peter,
yeah.
Saint John, and like they still love Jesus and God.
Santa Maria.
Yeah, exactly.
So they still worship them, but
Santa Blanca.
they also you're gonna bring up Ghost Recon Wildlands in the video game.
I'm sorry, I was just
Most
had
people
to
won't
go
know
it.
what that is, but
It's
anyway.
okay.
But they have God, and then they have other things that they worship. And so that, I thought that was weird, and I was like, oh no, wait, that's not a new concept.
It's mostly Catholic that I think of when I hear that.
So these spirits, kind of their equivalent of saints, are called Loa, L-O-A, but in Haitian Creole it's Loa, which is L-W-A. Like I'm saying, it's phonetic. It's not very much of a written language.
Oh, yeah.
And each Loa can affect something specific. Kind of like the equivalent of Greek gods or Roman gods. They all had their own thing, Do the saints do that? There's like Michael the Archangel for protection. So stuff like that.
I mean, they kind of do. Like, if they want, like, I know that people like will pray to like Saint Mary if they want to be like fertile, or if they want more luck with like babies.
I know nothing about that, so I'm not even going to comment because I don't want to. I don't want to sound completely ignorant.
I've just heard things like that.
Okay.
From my Catholic family.
You probably read about this too, because this seems like a pretty dramatic thing to miss over. Just
I'm gonna feel really sheepish.
like 1,000 miles away, because it's still voodoo. The practice of possessing oneself with another spirit.
Yeah.
And they would do this in order to gain wisdom or knowledge or insight. They would do it to pretty much help themselves or help other people, which is fun. And this is actually a concept called Kanga or Kanga. It's K-A-N-G-A, and this is the concept of binding a soul to an object. So I've been talking for about
I'm
10 minutes.
Oh, this is interesting.
Tell me some of what you've learned with New Orleans. Give us an intro.
This is interesting because like I don't mind hearing a lot about your stuff because like with as Jack already said, I have Louisiana voodoo and Jack went for more of like the Haitian kind of route there. So I find it really interesting to like look at my notes and just listen to what he says, because I'm like, wow, that's really different, or that's really similar. So
Glad things are different.
yeah, no, seriously. And like I don't mind it so much in this episode.
This would be a very boring episode.
Yeah, no, because in other episodes when we do the same topic, it's like, okay, wait, no, I got something here on this. But with this, like, I have no idea.
You took my talking point, man.
But no, with Louisiana voodoo, like in terms of like an intro for that, it is often confused kind of with Haitian voodoo and deep Southern hoodoo. Like not voodoo, hoodoo.
What's hoodoo?
It's legit like it's a southern. It's like it's called deep Southern hoodoo. Hoodoo. It's like a little variation of that. That's where you get kind of like more of like occult things.
Okay.
Like weird stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
It differs from Louisiana voodoo differs from Haitian voodoo in the fact that Louisiana voodoo emphasizes a lot more on things called gris gris, voodoo queens, use of voodoo paraphernalia. Louisiana voodoo kind of coined the term gris gris, and that's where you get like voodoo dolls. That's like Louisiana voodoo.
Really?
Yeah, and so it was because of like what you're talking about with that whole what was the word you just used to describe like putting your spirit onto something else or taking
Kanga or Kanga.
Yeah. That's what it references. That's kind of where it started from. But because it came to like America and a bunch of other different things, and the American culture kind of swiggled around it, and just like the what even is the word? Like the power that voodoo queens held, and like certain people in like the world of voodoo held, they could do these certain things. So that's where you get like in the movies, you have like voodoo dolls, or if you poke at that person, it feels pain and stuff like that. But of course, comparatively to your one, where it's all about gaining knowledge and like developing as a person, this one's all about pain, suffering, and ensuring that the person who wronged you or someone you just don't like suffers, which is kind of like, ugh.
You want to know something funny about the voodoo doll thing?
Sure.
Okay, so in the Nat Geo video I watched, National Geographic video I watched, the guy. Let me see where this is in my notes.
A human being.
Okay, so this guy asks a practicer of voodoo, like a voodoo priestess or whatnot. Mm-hmm. He asks about the weird, quote unquote weird stuff. He called it weird stuff with voodoo, raising the dead, voodoo dolls and stuff. And she said that none of those things are true. Mm-hmm. That none of those things are real.
Yeah.
It's a way of life. It's a beautiful religion. It's not scary at all. You want to know what it cut to?
Huh.
People in a chapel-like room, like shouting and flailing their arms because they're possessed. Okay, I kind of had the same reaction. I was like, what is, that's not scary? And then I was like, wait, Christians do this.
Yeah.
In some churches. You got those churches.
You feel the Holy Spirit, brother.
Yeah, and they, like, people have literally spasms and, like, have seizures on the floor. Who are those?
Speak in tongues, my friend.
Like, the people who just writhe around on the floor.
It's not Baptist, or is it?
It's not Baptists.
Southern Baptists?
I can't even comment on that, but I know I've never seen. No, it's not Methodists either. I had a good friend who was a Methodist. I've never heard about it. It definitely is more of a Southern thing, I think, but it's not just particular to voodoo.
No.
That's a thing that Christians have been doing for literally centuries as well.
People in all religions.
The Spirit has overcome me. I'm going to have a seizure. Yeah. Speaking in tongues. That's a thing where they speak gibberish, saying
Haitian
that
Creole.
No, not even. That's just a blend of two different languages.
I know.
I'm talking about people who just get up and just spout just gibberish.
Uh-huh.
And that may be like a very real sacred thing, and I may just be talking out of my butt.
We don't know. So
I don't know.
Saying,
I don't know. But it's like the equivalent. The Spirit has overcome me. A spirit has overcome me, and I am either sharing wisdom or acting in a certain way because I am inhabited by the Spirit, or I am being influenced by this Spirit directly.
Mm-hmm. If we go back 4 or 5 weeks ago, we talked about spirits influencing people. So, possession.
Oh yeah,
and I was like, when I think of that now,
obsession,
oppression,
and possession was the name.
I'm kind of when I hear that kind of like a spirit influences me, I'm like, good thing or bad thing? Like you got to tell me the difference there.
Yeah, and
it's cool.
I'm going to talk a little bit about the danger with belief in possession and how it's treated, because there's things that can go terribly wrong.
Yeah.
As we talked about with the possession thing.
Yeah.
5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, So that's my little thing. So that's really different.
It is.
Because the video I watched, she's like, yeah, no, none. That's all myths. None of that's real.
It's just like because it's just the American way of it, and kind of like how it's like meshed with culture and all these other things. Because like voodoo, it was brought to the French Louisiana, or to French Louisiana during the colonial period. Obviously, you already said this. Enslaved sub-Saharan Africans from West Africa, and this was from 1719 to 1731. The majority of these African captives that were brought to Louisiana were Fon people, Fon, and they're from what now is called Benin. That's a place in Africa. And then there were a bunch of different things like Mandinga, the Wolof, the Iwi, Fube, and Yorubu, and just these different tribes and different places and different, and each of these places, I mean, you got to think, like, if you're taking these people from their homelands to a place that's totally foreign, they have their own
against
cultures.
Their will.
Yeah, they have their own cultures, their own practices, their own languages and religious beliefs rooted. And for the majority of this voodoo stuff, it was rooted in spiritual and ancestor worship. That's like the idea. All the groups, even though they were different, contributed to like the idea.
And that's a centuries-old belief.
Yeah, exactly.
Worshipping spirits and the ancestral worship.
The thing that threw off the Europeans when they were brought, when the slaves were brought over, is the fact that they obviously treated slaves terribly. But one thing that was obvious to them, that was obvious to the Europeans, was the fact that these slaves, these people from Africa, had such a deep knowledge of herbs, poisons, charms, amulets. Like they would go out and there was a story I read about where this plantation owner, and apparently he wasn't a bad guy. He just used them, but he was very respectful. Like,
I can't remember. Thomas Jefferson owned slaves.
Yeah,
but people don't generally look at him as a bad guy.
Yeah.
Didn't Andrew Jackson own slaves too?
Yeah, wasn't he terrible? Well, no, he killed Indians. He was
people really don't like Andrew Jackson.
Yeah. But slavery was terrible, but not all slave owners were bad. But slavery was terrible still. Anyway, this guy went into the field one day when he was just their day off to go do things, and he saw that the kids were doing things with the parents, in this big old circle, and the moms were teaching them what certain plants would do. And then, I was asking them, what does this do? And, they had to explain to him, when you mix this and this, you get to feel a certain way. And, he even tried it. He did one of the things with them, and they had a bunch of different herbs and things that they found just being out and about. And they just knew. Even though they had no books or anything, they could just look and be like, that's the thing. And then they did all this stuff, and they're like, if you use this, it'll be charmed, and it will help you. It'll give you a lot of success. Or this charm we have will grant you good tidings with this spirit and stuff like that.
They should have poisoned their slave master.
If they were bad, I would have assumed it. But the guy said it was you
don't have to be bad to kill your captor.
The guy was the guy writes basically how he writes is he was tripping really bad on the drug, basically.
Yeah. And that's when you snap his neck.
But apparently, they were all on it, yeah. But he says it was a very, very enlightening experience, and he felt like he discovered more about himself and humanity, because he felt like we were, in that moment, he was like, we are
all one.
Yeah, he's like, there's no difference in.
And then he came out of it, he's like, all right, y'all are still my slaves.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that still just makes me mad.
Yeah.
I would totally poison him if I was like, oh yeah, this herb gets you high like we did to you last time. He's like, okay, and he just drops dead in the forest and just leave. I mean, I don't know where they'd leave to at that time.
Underground Railroad.
That wasn't a thing.
That wasn't a thing, Noah. I know.
But yeah, man, I would try to, with their knowledge, I would take this might be terrible, but I would take every opportunity to kill the slave owners.
You're thinking of guerrilla warfare now.
Yeah, no, because that's a terrible thing to do to another person. So obviously I'd want to kill the master no matter how nice they were.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But it was just interesting. He writes about it, and just about how even little kids knew how to do certain rituals and certain things. And I was like, that's really cool. It's very, very... It's just so important to them that they make sure to teach them from a young age, that they know the importance of things, and they know how to do certain rituals, certain chants, certain charms, and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
That is super cool. Yeah, I didn't have any of that in my research. Tell me if they have this in New Orleans.
Nolans.
like
Louisiana.
Like Louisville.
Yeah, Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville, Kentucky. So they have something called the Big Good Angel. So they have the bigger spirit and the lesser spirit. Okay, can you guess the name of the other thing? So one is Big Good Angel. What's the other one?
Le Grand Zombie? Is that
No,
what it is? Oh.
Little Good Angel. See, I thought it would be like Shoulder Angel, Shoulder Devil. It's not the case at all, actually. So Big Good Angel is the one that is the...
It's a good
It's
name.
the body, pretty much. It's the one that makes your body function and like makes your heart work and keeps your stuff going. And the Little Good Angel is the one that gives you personality.
Huh.
I was like, oh, okay.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and I don't know why that kind of belief would be necessary. Just because it's your body and then it's your personality. But I do think that's a beautiful sentiment.
I mean, just think of like
the big good angel runs your body, the little good angel is your personality.
People describe the soul, and the soul is just the unity of the body and spirit. And so for them, they have two separate entities for that. So it's kind of cool. Like it's even there. It's similar to like that Christian ideology.
I wonder if it's because when this might just be a hypothetical, but what if it got sick or they started exhibiting strange behavior if they attributed it to one of those angels? Like if they were physically sick, they said,
doubt it.
Their big good angel is corrupted or something like that.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Or if they start exhibiting strange behavior or, they're suffering from a mental illness, their little good angel is suffering or is corrupted.
I mean, people used to throw people over boats when they thought Poseidon was mad. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they would have thought that too.
Or Jonah throwing himself off that boat into the whale's mouth.
I mean, yeah.
My goodness.
It all ended well for him, though.
I guess so.
I mean, yeah.
But yeah, so that's the big good angel and little good angel thing. Did you have that in what you read?
They didn't call it big good angel or little good angel. They just called it like the two halves, and it just talks about. It's basically the same thing, just like your body and your soul. Two different parts, and each of them needs to be in sync with the other. And I mean, it kind of reminded me of that whole like that inner wolf battle that you hear about.
Yes.
Where it's like there's two wolves inside of you and they're both fighting, and one of them is like the hate and the anger and the rage of you, and the one's like the positivity, the love, and the happiness.
Which one wins, Grandpa? Depends on which one you feed.
Whichever one you feed is the one that wins the war. And so it's kind of, that made me think of that, but in the sense of like both these halves of you, they never give it a name. I couldn't find one. It was just like the two halves of you.
Yeah.
They have to be in sync, and if they're not, you either, this is kind of cool actually, this explains illness and like mental illness too actually. If one of them is not in sync with the other, like if the body is not in sync with the spirit, you'll get like sick. Like you'll get like a cold.
See, that's what I was saying. I was just speculating.
And so it's cool though. And then if your other half, the spiritual side, is not in sync with your physical half, you'll get depressed or you'll have super bad anxiety. And so they explain it kind of like you have to put. I saw a picture of it. It was really cool. I'll put it on the website when it's up. It basically was like these two rings, and they lined them up perfectly in front of you, so you can't see them both. You can only see one ring because one's hiding behind it. And so just imagine putting two rings on top of each other, and you can't see the other ring underneath it. They're like, that's how your body should be. It looks like it's one ring, but it's two. And when one's just slightly out of the way, issue happens, depending on which way that goes. Yeah. It's interesting how like even like you think back to like ancient China, they have like the whole balance of yin and yang, that's half and half.
Then the chosen one bringing balance to the force, but
I mean that's my religion, but you have voodoo here, you have two halves.
You're a Jedi.
And then you have your thing where it's like, big good angel, big little angel and stuff like that. It's just really cool to me how like, I mean, once again, we've said this in a few episodes already, how every culture seems to have their own way to explain everything and anything, whether it be the weather, the crops, it being infertile, anything at all. Illness, yeah. It's a witch. I'm just kidding. Throwback.
It's a witch. What did you say? Throw them in the river.
For them, it's just that their body and soul are out of sync. Body and spirit are out of sync. And that they just need to be put back in some kind of way. And it's just really cool. I mean, that's explain.
That makes sense.
Take an aspirin.
I think the only danger is how they treat it.
Yeah.
I have a story about that.
Do it.
I'm going to share that. Okay.
Is it a spooky story?
Yeah. So this is from the Nat Geo video. Ooh. So this video, a lot of it was about this gentleman named Gary in Haiti.
Gary.
Like I didn't think his name would be Gary.
Gary.
But he has a really cool last name that I forgot to write down. But he's a businessman, but he's also the voodoo priest in his village.
Ooh, Gary.
Yeah, and so it's weird. They show him like walking around in like a suit with like sunglasses on, and then they show those revolving shots where like the camera like kind of spins around them, and they look at the camera and they're turning in slow motion.
Yeah.
Like with UFC fights and whatnot. Yeah. They do that, and he's got all this like garb on. He's got 2 machetes across his chest.
What?
I said, okay, that's either super cool if that's real, or they're being extremely racist right now.
Extreme emphasis.
But I was like, I really hope that that's actually like his garb, and they're not like, what do you think when you think voodoo? 2 machetes across the chest. Anywho, so it shows this certain encounter with a young man in the village named Berto. And you see Berto in the video, and he does not look well. He's like, his shoulders are slumped, and he's kind of like flailing. Like this.
What the?
But he's speaking in his language. It's freaky.
Yeah.
And so instead of treating it as a medical problem that maybe he has some sort of psychosis, they jump straight to possessed, which I think is a serious danger when it comes to a culture, how fast they'll jump to possession and jump to quote unquote alternative medicine, aka medicine that hasn't been like approved or isn't mainstream. Mm-hmm. So he has been inhabited by a spirit. So Gary, being the village priest, kind of puts together a ceremony, and all the people are in this shack standing around each other, and Berto's in the middle sitting down, and Gary's doing these chants, and they're singing what kind of the equivalent of hymns, because at the beginning of a lot of their ceremonies they would sing their spiritualistic songs, mm-hmm. and they would know that spirits were in attendance if all of a sudden members of the congregation started getting possessed. In this case, that wasn't happening, except for Gary.
Gary.
So what they were expecting, he was calling on a spirit to possess him. Gary was calling on a spirit to possess his own body, to get insight and knowledge. Yeah, no, as a priest, he's like, I don't know what's going on, so I'm going to call on somebody who does know. So he was calling on a spirit that could help. They were expecting an ancestral spirit. You want to know who came through instead?
A demon.
No, the spirit of death himself.
Oh,
yeah.
The Dulan.
No. His name is Baron Sumedi. And so Baron Sumedi is the spirit of death. Like, he's apparently one of the most powerful and feared spirits that they worship. And Gary, now quote-unquote possessed by Baron, turns to Berto's father and starts yelling at him. Do you want to know what he says? I have the translation.
Go for it.
He says, "This is your fault. You are the one who put him in this situation. You have money for women and cut fries, but you have no money to help out your sons. If you cannot be responsible for your family, they will become my responsibility."
Ugh.
I'm like,
oh, dang.
At that point in the video, I'm just thinking to myself, oh my gosh.
Wow.
Either Gary's got some dirt on the dad, or he's making speculations, or this is legit.
Wow.
Either way, it brought me goosebumps. And the dad's sitting there, and he's kind of an elderly dude, but he looks super guilty. Like he knows he's done something wrong.
Dang.
Yeah. And so I thought that was so funny. It wasn't funny, it was terrifying, but it was interesting. The spirit of death came through.
Yeah.
Instead of giving an answer, just turned and went full on accusatory, like the root of all problems. And so essentially what they boiled it down to was disrespect of ancestral spirits. And so the son was punished for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's some deep stuff there.
Right?
That's dark.
Pretty gnarly.
Jeez.
So yeah, that's one story I have. That's the Haitian National Geographic video that I saw. It was really cool. We'll definitely be throwing it up on the website. I'll send a link to Noah and he'll put it up there because it's only 5 minutes.
Yeah,
but it's a good watch.
It's a worth watch. Yeah.
And I'm sure Noah will have his resources in there as well.
Do you want to know something interesting about singing?
No.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. Go for it.
So like singing is so important in voodoo rituals.
It's the same thing with Christian.
Yeah, and
Christian
I can tell from your Haitian one and my Louisiana one how important it is. It's such an important part because you have to start the rituals that way. They've been passed down. orally for hundreds of years. They're not really written down too often when it comes to these things.
Yeah.
Just because it's more of that like respect of like,
Especially when
passed
it's in Haitian Creole, because it's not really a written language.
So, fun fact, there's only 2 ways a new song can be added. So like their repertoire.
Okay.
Do you want to guess what they are?
An ancestor spirit possesses them and writes it down.
So the first is if someone who has heard the song in a dream.
Okay.
Which, that'd be kind of cool, actually, as this, it's believed to be revelation from the spirits. And the second way is if a person is in a possessed trance and asks the people around them to sing it and memorize it. And when it is considered to come straight from the spirit, basically, when you're possessed. So that's kind of interesting. So basically, your grandpa could show up and be like, sing this song, and it's just Home on the Range.
But it's not your grandpa.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like,
Barone.
It's Barone. He's
Spirit
back.
of death. I got a song for you guys.
I got a song for you. You gonna die tonight? Sing it with me. I'll add some clapping in the background. Hey, yeah. I'm just kidding.
Oh, gosh.
Pass me the mic, DJ.
No.
I'll sing a song to my boy Gary here. Gary, you're gonna die. I'm just kidding.
This is the song. Hey, Dad, you suck. You don't have money for your kids. Why am I singing Les Mis?
I was
look
like,
down, look down.
Well, he's gonna be standing in a grave in a minute.
Oh, gosh.
Gary. There are, just going along with that, with the singing and rituals. When it comes to Louisiana voodoo, there's 4 phases to a voodoo ritual. They're all identifiable by the song being sung. And it's all basically about like the preparation, invocation, and the possession and farewell. That's the order. The song will be about preparation, and then a song about invocation, and then a song about possession, and then a song about saying goodbye. And like every song they sing, like it's not like some like crazy weird song. Like it's just like a song in their language about a certain topic.
Yeah.
And like, the invocation, you're inviting something. Possession, you're singing about the person who gets possessed. Anyway, the songs are used to open the gates between the deities and the human world and invite spirits to possess someone. So you're basically saying you're prepping. Like I said, there's 4 phases. You're prepping with a prep song. You're inviting them with invocation. You're singing about possess them, take them, and then you have to sing a song about goodbye. And that way they leave, and everything's back to normal.
That just reminds me of like the church we go to, because whenever we attend our meetings, in the first hour of church that we go to, there's an opening hymn, and that's to invite the spirit. That's to invite a positive atmosphere.
Yeah.
And then there's like an intermediate hymn, and then there's a closing hymn. Mm-hmm. I believe a lot of other churches have that. I mean, you go to I've been to a lot of inside of a lot of Protestant churches for rehearsals for shows that I've been in, because we would rehearse in churches, but they had hymn books. Mm-hmm. And that concept is pretty normal to me. Having songs to mark certain points in the ceremony or the
ritual,
the ritual,
just the worshiping,
the worship. Yeah.
Do you want to know something major creepy?
Yeah.
So
always. That's the point of this.
So we'll have to do a really scary episode next week. I don't know why I want to do a super scary one, but I really do want to do a super scary one next week.
Okay, we'll talk about it.
What was I going to say? Oh, shoot. Something really spooky. So I already told you there's 4 phases to the ritual. The prep, the invocation, the possession, and the farewell. All of those have their own songs. There are a few instances where it talks about how when they're trying to invite a spirit to possess someone, as you've already pointed out, the spirit they want doesn't always come. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's that bad juju that comes down the drain.
Yeah, I wonder how they would react to a Ouija board.
So,
kind of the same concept.
I feel
there.
like I always
they expect one spirit, another one shows up.
I always thought that Ouija boards were a voodoo thing, but it's not.
They're not. I mean, I don't really know where they come from.
I thought they were just like a freaking American invention.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Like a parlor trick.
You can buy them at Walmart, and
they're 7 and up.
Yeah, 7 and up.
So you only have. I might have made this joke before.
It's true though. Say it again.
You have to be 21 and up to drink alcohol. But
18 to vote.
You only have to be 8 to summon the devil.
Hey, priorities straight. We can't elect politicians, but we can summon Satan. Anyway, facts. All right. Anyway,
that's comical. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No matter how you spin that, that's funny.
It is. Anyway, so with this, there's only a few accounts of this, and I don't know how many more there are, but sometimes, as Baron has shown us, a bad dude shows up. I guess Baron's not very bad.
He's not bad. He's just a spirit of death.
Yeah, but sometimes people show up who are not supposed to be. So the thing is they have the 4 phases of the ritual with the singing is, once again, the preparation is to set the atmosphere, like you said, invite the spirit in. Invocation is kind of like calling the spirit in. Possession is kind of saying like, hey, use this person as like that thing. And then farewell is to send the spirit back and let the person be normal again. And so everybody works out. So it's also, when I looked up, a way of defense because it prevents bad guys from showing up. Well, there's a few stories of people being possessed by some bad juju, some bad guys, bad spirits.
Voodoo Mama Juju from The Office.
Yeah. Anyway, one of these particular stories is of an evil spirit who possesses someone, and knowing how the ritual works, tried to kill someone who was like leading the song because they didn't want them to sing the farewell because that would have to make them leave, because in this mentality or in this ideology, if the song isn't finished, they don't have to leave. But then again, if the song is ever sang again in their presence by more than 4 people, it's for some reason there has to be more than 4, they have to go. But so it talks about how this person was possessed, and the first thing they went to do is weird. It says this person like leapt up and started strangling like the head of like this like choir ritual thing, because that's the person, it's like the conductor basically. Tried to strangle him to stop them from closing it out, but the people knew the song already, so they just were able to sing it without the conductor, and the person passed out, and they didn't wake up for like 2 days, but the evil spirit was gone. Just because it was such a weird experience in their body.
Interesting.
Because apparently it's supposed to be done very, very methodically, and like forcing it out really quick, is not the best thing for either body or spirit.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. And
Okay.
I was like, dang.
I have. I'm gonna recommend a series to you guys. It's called Dark Tourist. It's on Netflix. It's this journalist from New Zealand. Do you know what dark tourism is?
Kind of.
Okay, you go to places that are like dangerous or really weird. Like people who go on the like Charles Manson tours or the Jeffrey Dahmer tours, and they go down to go down to Colombia and go on those tours all about the one dude from Narcos.
Oh, El Chapo?
El Chapo? Isn't that's the dude who keeps escaping from prison.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the dude who's dead already.
Oh, Fidel Castro?
No, that's Cuba.
I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Is he dead?
Who?
Oh, he is dead. Castro.
Yeah.
No, he, anywho. People who just go on vacations that are thematic to like danger or serial killers. Some people go to like...
That's so creepy. Why would you go for that?
It's called dark tourism.
That's creepy.
It's interesting. Yeah. So this guy goes to Africa. So this is actually an African voodoo thing. So let me scroll down to this. Okay. So this guy visits, I forget his name. It's been a while, but he visits a voodoo village, and he visits with the priestess, and he's asking all these questions about voodoo and whatnot, and she's telling him that she has this kind of the equivalent of a guardian angel, but it's a certain voodoo spirit that's kind of her pal, her unseen protector. And she's like, if you want, I can set you up too. And he's like, okay.
Sounds awesome.
I mean, he doesn't believe in it. I think he's actually like an atheist, so he doesn't really believe. He doesn't believe in any sort of like higher power, but he finds it very interesting and he likes to study it. That's why he's a journalist.
Of course.
He's very nonpartisan, and that makes him very fun to watch because he doesn't bring in his own biases most of the time.
I like that. I'm gonna have to watch this now.
It's really cool.
Dark tourism.
It's very dark.
Of course.
It's pretty graphic sometimes. But she takes him to a market that has all these voodoo ingredients, and he gets. I remember they get like a monkey skull, like. I can't remember if chicken feet was another one of them. But okay, the funniest thing about this is he sees a chameleon, like a little tiny, like freaking Rapunzel tangled chameleon, the one that sit on her shoulder, that big, right? And he's like, "What's that for?" They're like, "Oh, that's gonna be used in a sacrifice." He's like, how much? And he buys it. And for the rest of the episode, he has it on his shoulder. He keeps he keeps the chameleon as a pet.
That's awesome.
It's the coolest thing ever.
He's like, you ain't dying today, buddy.
Yeah, and so then they go back and she puts all like the paint on him and stuff and like covers in him powder at one point. Like he's got his eyes closed. He's like, I can't see because they put all this stuff on his face.
This is where you start tripping balls.
No, they didn't do drugs or anything, but they danced around him, put stuff on him. Oh, I think they like painted him white and like put blue dots of blue like splotches of paint all over him. I think that's the image coming to my head. But anyway,
That's interesting.
they put
I'm
him through the
definitely
same
watching it.
ritual to summon this spirit to be his buddy. Mm-hmm. And he's like, this is my friend now. Mm-hmm. I've got a constant companion. He's my buddy. He's my pal. Mm-hmm. It's really cool to watch. But yeah, no, that was a cool thing that I saw. And you brought up the ingredients for voodoo and stuff, and I didn't see that in any of the Haitian voodoo. I may have just missed it, but I did see that in the original.
It was a big time
African
thing
voodoo.
that came from Africa.
Yeah.
Big time.
So yeah, I think that's all my notes.
That's
on
really
voodoo.
interesting. So I want to talk about two people.
Go for it.
My girl Marie Laveau, and then Dr. John, also known as Bayou John.
Bayou John. All right.
Bayou John.
Go for it.
All right, Marie Laveau. There were 15 voodoo queens at any given time.
Queen.
Get it, Queen Bey? They were in the neighborhoods that scattered around, 19th century New Orleans. Marie Laveau was known as the Voodoo Queen, like the Voodoo Queen. There was a bunch of them, but she was like the capital Q. Little G for little gods, big G for the main guy. Yeah. She was the big capital queen.
High priestess.
She was the most eminent and powerful person in the entire city of New Orleans. And almost the entire state, some speculate, even out of politicians.
I want to meet this person, but I'd be scared too. So.
Her religious rite, the area on the shore of Lake, how he says Pontchartrain, on St. John's Eve. It's this like spiritual rite she does every year on the shore of the lake. Every year she did this. At once she became like the queen, had over 12,000 people show up. Black people, white people, Asians, islanders, politicians, people of all cultures, creeds, nationalities came. It was crazy. Lawyers, business and politicians, wealthy planters, they all came and they would consult her. And people would like sit with her and basically like talk to her about what they could do to be more successful, what they could do to like be happy and stuff like that. Now, here's the thing. People come to make important financial or business decisions, just thing like that. But she always had like kind of her own motives. I'll get to that in a minute.
Of course.
But the thing that was cool about her is the fact that, she herself is an African-American woman, and she saw to the poor and enslaved as well. She didn't just talk to rich people, which I kind of wanted to make that important.
That's nice.
And she was very non-discriminatory, but there's a lot of evidence that she definitely did favor enslaved servants, which at that time period, her being African as well, duh. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
those are your people. That, of course, I have like no issues there. And many slaves who escaped said that, for the runaway slaves that escaped, said that she was influential for them to escape.
Yeah, she told me to give my owner, like my slave owner, this funny plant that I didn't know about yet, and he fell asleep and he didn't wake back up, and then I just left.
Well, the funny thing is she would give them charms, and she would just say, like, she would either tell them, like, you have to do this certain thing at this certain time before or after you get away. Or like if someone's going to make a really important business deal, it's like right after you do this, as soon as it's done, you have to do X, Y, and Z. You have to do this. And if you don't, oh man, bad stuff's going to happen on you. And the reason that was is because she would make deals on behalf of, with people, with the spirits, and be like a spirit because she had that like so much power that she could be the advocate and be like, hey,
she's
spirit.
like a bank.
Really though, she was
with a credit line.
Yeah, but it was some intense stuff that would go down. And a lot of the escaped slaves said that it was because they would go to her and get charms and get like little ways to escape and stuff.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Whatever way you can get to escape that kind of stuff, do it, man.
I mean, she was kind of like, she was a gossip girl, like in terms of like she knew all the stuff. She's kind of the one that made voodoo dolls. like the big thing.
Mainstream.
Yeah, it really mainstream because like they were so tough, and then she had potions. Her gravesite is still there. It's a really big gravesite apparently, and every year on that same date that comes in, the same date that they have her ceremony every year, people lay down voodoo trinkets and gifts on her grave,
Cool.
and they hope that she'll help out with that. And I don't know, it's really cool because a lot of the time they say that people who didn't do what she asked to, like whether it was like you need to like go home and like take your clothes off, and like one of the things she had somebody do, it was like a slave who was escaping, like he had, once he escaped and he was far enough away, once he crossed the state line, once he was gone, he had to soil himself. That was just something he had to like literally like poo and pee his pants. That's just, he just had to do it. And so like people like stuff like that, and sometimes it was easy, like just find a 4-leaf clover and eat it, you know, which can be easy or hard depending on that. And then if you didn't, really bad luck would come to them and they would die, or they would just be really sick and stuff like that. And then you have Dr. John, Bayou John, and you know, they call him Prince John. He's from Senegal, and he was a slave that was kidnapped and brought to, you know, America, New Orleans, and he called himself the Voodoo King / Voodoo Prince.
Okay.
And he was basically a witch doctor, more or less. Like he, you know, Marie Laveau is more known for like her power with the spirits. He's more known for being able to craft all kinds of things and being an excellent healer, but he also kind of like would do some sketchy things. And he's the one that basically introduced the idea of zombies in Louisiana.
Oh,
like it wasn't even a thing before him, because he said he could reanimate people and resuscitate people from the point of death, or he could bring them back after they had died. Basically, he made a deal with the Shinigami. I'm just kidding.
All right.
But there was a lot of examples and a lot of stories of him doing that kind of stuff. But a lot of the people would turn out to be bad. So that was always kind of sketchy. So they call him Dr. John, Bayou John, the king of zombies.
Very cool.
King of Louisiana. Yeah.
Nice.
Voodoo's weird. It's kind of like there's a lot of good things and a lot of bad things. And
Kinda just depends on...
That's with most things.
Kind of just depends on what you look at.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. That's all I have. Is that all you have?
That's all I have, yeah.
All right. This was fun.
This was fun.
I was worried that we wouldn't have enough to talk about, but
No, bro.
that flew by fast.
It really did, though.
All right. Awesome. So we're going to do our outro, but Noah's family's in town, and his brother is actually a fan of the show, so we're going to have him read the outro. So take it away, Nathan. He prefers Nathan. He's going to be mad at me now. Take it away, Nathan.
You can find Studies in Shadow on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and SoundCloud. You can also like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Username is Studies in Shadow. For all inquiries, you can send a message at studiesinShadow@gmail.com. Music composed and produced by Jack Rogers and Matthew Gonzalez. This has been Studies in Shadow. Thank you for listening, and be safe.